to live long better. Live longer, age better. Brand new fitness feature from the Not Old Better Show and the American Council on Exercise, ACE. This is where science meets strength. And aging is just another word for thriving. Joining us always is Dr. Sabrena Jo, Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. She's here to break down the real research and share how movement, mindset, and motivation can help you live longer and age better. Get ready to move smarter, feel stronger, and live fully. And now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Thank you, and please know that today's show is brought to you by Aura Frames. Aura Frames, the gift that brings your favorite holiday traditions and memories to life every day. If I told you there was a health risk that could quietly raise your chances of early death by roughly 25 to 30%, and it wasn't diabetes, blood pressure, or cholesterol, you'd probably lean in. According to the U.S. Surgeon General, loneliness and social isolation increase the risk of premature death by 26 and 29%. And lacking social connection can be as dangerous as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. That's from the Health and Human Services Department. So here's the question for all of us over age 60. We count our steps, we count our meds. Who's helping us count our people? Welcome to the Live Long Better interview series on radio and podcast. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and today we're tackling the loneliness epidemic head on with movement and community as prescription. Joining us are two generational leaders from the American Council on Exercise, or ACE. First, our ongoing member of the team, Dr. Sabrena Jo, the Senior Director of Science and Education at ACE, whose work focuses on how pro-aging, inclusive fitness, and community-based movement can turn a lonely workout into a welcoming social circle. We will also be joined, it's a real pleasure by Dr. Cedric Bryant, Chief Executive Officer at ACE. Dr. Bryant spends his days at the table with organizations like the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, championing physical activity as essential public health. Dr. Bryant has authored more than 300 articles, over 40 books, holds a doctorate in physiology from Penn State, where he received the university's Distinguished Alumni Award. He lives the ACE mission personally with regular exercise, pickleball, golf, and even coaching youth sports. Dr. Bryant often says some activity is better than none, and more is better than some. Every little bit counts. So well said. We'll talk about that and about how that simple idea scales up from one older adult taking a short walk with a neighbor to ACE's 40 Forward initiative, a 40th anniversary effort to shape the future of fitness together by building more inclusive, community-driven opportunities to move in every kind of neighborhood. If your contact list has gotten smaller while your pill organizer has gotten bigger, this episode is for you, because today we're not just talking about adding years to your life, we're talking about adding people to your years. Stay with us. Dr. Sabrena Jo and Dr. Cedric Bryant from the American Council on Exercise coming right up next. Dr. Sabrena Jo, always good to see you. And Dr. Cedric Bryant, it is really good to see you. Welcome to both of you to the show. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Paul. Happy holidays to you. And thank you for the invitation, actually.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Paul. It's great to be here, as always.
Always. So good to talk. I want to talk for a second. I want to get a little serious about fitness. Dr. Jo and I talk about this a lot, Dr. Bryant, community, isolation, and loneliness. And I think those are powerful elements, especially kind of post-COVID. Certainly, they just hammered us all during COVID. But the U.S. Surgeon General has taken on this subject of loneliness, just as the American Council on Exercise has too. And he has a very powerful way of talking about it. He says that loneliness is an epidemic. Its risks are on par with smoking. That really kind of brings it home. So, Dr. Bryant, I'll start with you. When you look
Mhm.
at kind of all of these issues, especially through the lens of fitness and exercise, specifically around aging, what is it that our healthcare system is missing when it comes to this idea of isolation, community, and how we combat some of that these days?
That's an excellent question, Paul. And I would say one of the overriding misconceptions that not only healthcare, but I think people in general, they tend to think of loneliness as being just an emotional issue. And as the Surgeon General has aptly stated, it behaves a lot like a chronic medical condition, because it raises inflammation, it disrupts your sleep, it can cause, it can lead to depression, risk for early death. So all the things that we associate with other very unhealthy behaviors, and he likened it to kind of being the new smoking, is relevant when you think about this problem of isolation. And you're absolutely correct that a lot of it stems from what we all experienced during the COVID pandemic. And so, what the healthcare system, in my humble opinion, I believe is probably missing is the important role that movement can play, and especially movement with others. Because I think it's one of the most powerful kind of antidotes to this kind of loneliness crisis, because not only are you helping when individuals exercise together, whether it's a walk, whether it's getting together for a class, they're not just improving their balance, their strength, and their mobility, but they're actually connecting with another human. And that's what we've all been yearning for really since the effects of the pandemic. And so I see activity as kind of being part of that overall public health solution to this loneliness crisis that we're experiencing.
Dr. Joe, for you, and certainly Dr. Bryant, chime in
Mhm.
always. But Dr. Joe, you've talked and written, and ACE has talked about this idea of community-based outdoor movement in a way that really, I think, rings true powerfully as well. You talk about it as being this triple benefit: movement, nature, and people. What is it that's so important for our 65 to 75-year-old audience that that looks like in real life? How do we make that come about and put the combination together so that really one that is battling this idea of isolation?
Yeah, well, you mentioned this triple benefit of movement, nature, and people.
Hmm.
And this is, yes, a powerful combination. I agree. And for, let's say, the 65 or 75-year-old person who's listening, this might look like a morning walking group in a neighborhood park.
Hmm.
It might look like gentle stretching under a shaded pavilion in your neighborhood. It might look like a community stroll through a nature path with benches and a place to rest and chat along the way. And so we've talked about this before, Paul, but movement boosts mood and energy. And also, nature eases stress and supports mental clarity. And this has been shown in recent research. So then, when you add in that third element of
Hmm.
the people are the glue, the community that,
Mhm.
that ties these things together. So, this combination creates a rhythm of connection, really, that fights this isolation that we were just talking about. And it does it from multiple angles. So, when you move, you breathe, you see others, doing this together over time, these small interactions accumulate into some meaningful relationships. So with yourself, with your community, and with nature.
Dr. Bryant, I know you are an avid pickleball player and outdoorsman, a believer in the ACE mission. You must be doing some of these same kinds of things personally and then as an advocate for this idea of kind of tackling isolation and building community outdoors.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. I think one of the real strong draws of pickleball is that it's very social in nature, and you are getting that movement at the same time. So you're getting and oftentimes it's played outdoors, so you're really experiencing that triple benefit. And one of my passions greater than pickleball is that I'm addicted to golf. And there and for me, the reason why I love golfing so much is that I'm really out in nature, being able to see God's beauty in terms of just the magnificent golf courses. And I also do it with a group of buddies, and we really joke about calling it kind of fellowship time because we're all kind of unplugged and we're really all in and focused on the conversation we're having, whether it's about a shot or whether it's about life. And so I think that's why it's so powerful to move together and to move in nature if you have the opportunity, and to just really enjoy that connection and relationship that can be established in that context.
Dr. Joe, let's move the class indoors for just a moment. You write an awful lot about this idea of community and kind of community building inside a fitness class. So many in my audience, I think, will believe that fitness classes are a competitive setting. And so how do you take that on? How do you kind of change the approach that is kind of more image driven to one that is more based on community and more of a sense of belonging?
Yeah, well, I love this question, Paul, as you know, because I love to research this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so I want you to imagine yourself in this scenario. So you're walking into a group exercise class, and everyone in the class is encouraged to focus on what their bodies can do today. And the instructors celebrate the effort. They don't compare people to each other. And the options and modifications are provided without any judgment. And the atmosphere is warm, curious, and welcoming, so that people just feel like they belong there. And then if you contrast that to perhaps something that might make you feel a different, opposite kind of way. Imagine you go into a more competitive or image-driven class where you might pick up on things like a subtle pressure to keep up, to keep the intensity as high as you possibly can, um, where the attention is placed on how you look. There's mirrors everywhere. People are scantily dressed, and there's a focus on that instead of just being in the moment as you're moving. Um, and then you might even get the sense of being in that experience that some bodies are more valued than others, just by not only the instructor, but even the peers, like in your group. So imagine the feelings between those two different types of classes. Um, and in my research shows that older adults thrive in environments that prioritize autonomy, progress, and community over aesthetics and rivalry. So when the climate supports that first class that I described, people don't just participate, they stay. They keep returning because they feel like they belong to something that's very positive.
And Paul, might I just add to because what
Please.
Sabrina said, I believe, is spot on. But
Yeah.
the only little nuanced difference that I would suggest is that all the things that she said are beneficial, and the reason why older adults really thrive in those environments are true for individuals of any age. And that's what I think people, professionals, and the whole space needs to understand.
Agreed.
Thank you for that. So, Dr. Bryan, in my research of you and in all of your writing, articles and over 40 books and all of your very powerful, impactful work on some of the institutions with regard to aging, there is this discussion about a shift in terms of the language away from this idea of anti-aging to more embracing this idea of pro-aging, subtle perhaps, but nonetheless an important one, I think, and one that you've really played an active role in talking about. You too, Dr. Joe, of course. So both of you perhaps tell us a little bit about what a pro-aging message might be around this idea of community building and what it's going to sound like in terms of what our audience might hear.
Sure, Paul. I'm one who believes in giving credit where credit is due, and my longtime friend and trusted colleague, Sabrina Joe, has really been the true champion of that concept of pro aging versus the anti-aging message. So I'm going to let her start, and then I'll just add if necessary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cedric. Well, Paul, what's interesting is you and I doing this podcast together for many years really has inspired me in many ways to get this message out more and more because what if you think about what anti-aging, which is a marketing message that is often promoted and for products or programs, and what it tells us is that your age is a problem and it needs to be fixed. And that message often pushes people into isolation because it implies that there's something wrong with them or there's something wrong with just the natural process of getting older, especially like in the fitness and exercise space. And so a pro-aging message, on the other hand, it honors experience and it emphasizes the capabilities that we have in our bodies right now. So if I'm trying to message this or help clients feel better about this aspect, I'm saying things like, your body has helped you do so much. Let's keep it working for the life that you want to live. And then we can design programs around, your goals for whatever that looks like for you as an individual. We can design programs around strength, mobility, flexibility. I also like to promote the message is that you belong here exactly as you are today, and we're going to meet you where you are. So I feel that when older adults hear that message, they don't shrink back, they engage and they become more present because, let's face it, aging is an achievement and that should be celebrated.
Well said.
Very well said. Thank you. So what's the message to some of the ACE team, Dr. Bryant, about this subject of pro-aging and how to integrate and perhaps even ingratiate to a class setting? What are the coaches doing on the ACE level in terms of training to really embrace this messaging?
Well, a lot of the things that one can do are it's kind of interpersonal communication skills 101 in terms of simply greeting people, knowing people's names, making them feel very welcomed. And I got to experience this firsthand with a initiative that we were supporting called 3 Wins that was in the Cal State Northridge area, where they created an environment in an under-resourced community where they would go to the local park. They would use college students who were training as exercise scientists. And what they would do is they would go invite the neighborhood. And this was the gamut, all types of ages and abilities. And they would have classes at different ability levels. And I would go sometimes to observe some of the classes. And one time that just, I'll never forget, I'm there and there's an older woman who was impacted by cancer. And so I started chatting with her because she was glowing and beaming as she's participating in this class that's appropriate for her level of conditioning and medical conditions as well. And so as I'm chatting with her, I said, you're just having joy out here. She goes, these are my people. She goes, when I first started the class, I was hesitant. She goes, but 3 or 4 people came up right away. They introduced themselves. They wanted to know my story. And if I miss more than once or twice in a row, they're following up, making sure that I'm okay and contacting me. She goes, so these are my people. And I think that says it all.
We'll be right back with our interview with ACE Leadership, Dr. Cedric Bryant and Dr. Sabrena Joe. But I mentioned that today's show is brought to you by Aura Frames. Aura Frames is the answer to every holiday gifting moment. Never struggle again to find the perfect holiday gift. You know that moment. You're scanning store shelves or online deals thinking, what do I get for someone who has everything? The gift has to be meaningful, not over the top, and absolutely not something that ends up in the back of a closet. That's why I love Aura Frames. It's the easiest gift to give. I gave one to my son last year, preloaded with pictures and videos of our grandchild, our grandson. I added family vacations, even a short video of our dog doing his holiday trick of being super annoying. He does that really well. When our son opened it, it was tears, laughter, and memories all wrapped into one beautiful digital frame. And the best part, I have kept sending new photos right from my phone all year long. You don't need to be a tech genius. Just download the Aura app, connect the frame to Wi-Fi, and voila. Unlimited photo and video uploads, and every frame comes in a premium box. No wrapping stress, no price tag. Don't wait. Win the holidays now with Aura frames. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using the promo code NOB at checkout. You all know the NOB promo code. That's Aura Frames, AURA frames.com. The promo code is NOB. Just keep that in mind, but also know this will be in our show notes today. The deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames, they sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Aura Frames is the answer to every holiday gifting moment. Never struggle again to find the perfect holiday gift. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to Live Long Better, our interview series with the American Council on Exercise. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Dr. Cedric Bryant and Dr. Sabrena Joe about why fighting loneliness might be the most important workout of your later years. In just a moment, I'm going to ask Dr. Joe the question. I hear this all the time. What if I'm 70, out of shape, and I don't have anyone to exercise with? Where on earth do I start? Dr. Joe will have answers. Dr. Cedric Bryant will have answers. Their answers might change what you do with the next 24 hours. And it does not involve a gym membership or spandex. Stay tuned. Dr. Sabrena Joe, the Senior Director of Science and Education, and Dr. Cedric Bryant, the CEO of the American Council on Exercise, are both our guests today. Dr. Joe, of course, is with us frequently and an audience favorite. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Dr. Joe, and Dr. Bryant. So nice to have you both here talking about loneliness and isolation, community building, all around this idea of fitness. And Dr. Bryant, I have a question for you about what I found within the ACE website about, I thought, a very important initiative titled the 40 Forward Initiative. And I wonder if you talk about that, because often we look back and we say, well, here's what happened. That's not the case with 40 Forward. It's really looking forward about what fitness is going to become, how it's going to change, how it's going to translate into perhaps a more age-inclusive community building arrangement. Maybe give us some of the highlights of the 40 Forward Initiative and what you're working on.
Sure. Well, this happens to be our 40th year anniversary.
Congratulations.
And ironically, today is my 24th year with the organization.
Well, congratulations, sir.
But as the phrase implies, as you aptly stated, it isn't about looking back at what we've accomplished in the 40 years since our inception. It's really a declaration of where fitness should and needs to go. And what I mean by that is that, particularly when we think in terms of, there are many what I'd call ignored populations, the older population being one of those, individuals with a variety of disabilities being a part of that group. And we feel that our mission to get people moving should involve everyone and should be accessible and available to everyone. And so our idea in terms of kind of with this 40 and Forward initiative is to build environments where people feel welcome, feel like they belong, feel like they can actually start taking those small incremental steps toward changing their lifestyles. And the thing is we need to adopt a mentality that it is for everyone, but it has to be given to everyone at a proper dose because we're not all at the same starting point. And so it's really learning how to take time to understand the individuals that we're privileged to work with and really view it as a privilege to be able to have someone trust you with their valuable asset, and that's their bodies and their minds. And I think it's really being able to understand that we have the ability to have such a powerful impact on helping people become their best selves and to really experience the fullness of life. And I think shifting from the aesthetics, how many pounds of weight you can lift, how fast can you run, to how are you handling the normal stress of life? How are you engaged with other human beings and really enjoying your time here on earth that you're given? And how can you help support others to grow like yourself? And so it's really trying to shift the mindset to being one where we're focused on, I'll say, the whole person as opposed to biceps and abs.
So, Dr.
Yeah,
Joe, I
and
have a very
yeah.
specific follow-up. You go ahead, though, please.
Oh no, maybe your follow-up is exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, well, so let's take it right to this level of just kind of getting started, as Dr. Bryant suggests. If I'm feeling a little bit lonely, if I haven't exercised in years, what's the very smallest kind of experiment that you might prescribe to somebody in that range over the course of just 7 days to kind of get started with some movement and really develop an idea that people are important in all of this?
Mhm.
Yeah, so if I were to recommend an experiment for anyone listening or watching to try,
Yeah,
um, for the next week or so, just choose one short walk. Let's say it's 10 minutes
yeah.
with another person. And that person can be a neighbor, it can be a family member, it can be someone from a local walking group, maybe that you've just signed up to participate with. Or if you don't have someone who is physically there with you, might you be able to hop on the phone and take a walk around your neighborhood while talking to a friend who maybe lives in several states away, but is also on the phone walking around their neighborhood with you. So you don't have to be physically present to have a social connection while moving at the same time. But my experiment really rests on the fact that you're bringing in one other person and you're adding movement to that, and it only takes 10 minutes. And if you live in a region of like for the let's say Kansas, I live in Kansas, so right now we just had a bunch of snow and an ice, and walking outside really isn't an option for me right now. But if I were to, hop on a treadmill and call a friend, then we could walk together for 10 minutes in the middle of the day, breaks up the day, and it gets that social connection, and honestly gets me off of my computer for a few minutes so that I can experience some movement instead of sitting all day. So just small experiments like that don't take much time, but pull in somebody else to move with you while you're moving, I think are pretty powerful.
And one thing I'd like to add to, I think Sabrina's a wonderful example of a nice little experiment is as you're doing that, think about how you feel. Because that connection of kind of movement and relationship in terms of doing it with someone else, in most individuals, is going to have a profound effect on how you feel. And so rather than focusing on if you're developing muscle XYZ or you're improving your cardiorespiratory function by X, think about simply how you feel. And that I found can be a great hook for that person who is new to activity. Because many times they've not had a positive experience with physical activity, at least initially. And so that will be the one thing. And the other thing too is that we all start at different points. And while 10 minutes sounds like it's not a lot of exercise, to us because we just live it and breathe it. Even 2 minutes of movement can have some value and some benefit. For example, the American Diabetes Association recommends that if you can just get up and move 2 minutes just to break up that constant sedentary behavior many of us have, can be beneficial in terms of your blood sugar control. So if we could just get people just to realize that, I like to think of movement like money in terms of every little bit you do is like loose change in your pocket. And at the end of the day, it all adds up into real dollars. And so every little bit of movement you do counts.
Yeah. And to Cedric's point, when you take a moment to reflect on how you feel after that 2 minute or 10-minute walk, that happens immediately. It's
Mhm.
instant. It's an instant brain boost of feel-good chemicals that help you, kind of take the next portion of your day in a more positive aspect. And instead of waiting for, oftentimes when people think of exercise, they have these goals that have to do with body weight or with
Mhm.
aesthetics. Those could take months or years, or
Yeah.
even not at all, depending on what your goals are. But if you concentrate on how you feel in the moment, a lot of times that's enough to keep going back for more because it makes you feel better.
Well, I want to ask you both a question. It really is a follow-up, Dr. Cedric Bryant, to your comment earlier about the fitness uh, colleague who said, "These are my people."
Yeah.
I want to take that to the kind of the next level and say, "Well, these are my people. What is my place? What does the future of exercise look like in terms of aging and inclusiveness and community?" Give us perhaps the three non-negotiables that need to be present in order to really facilitate good community building when it comes to fitness.
Yeah, I can think of, you said three. I can think of three, Paul, that I think are,
Yeah,
Mhm.
are pretty
perfect.
impactful. First and foremost, inclusivity.
Mhm.
And so now that we're talking on the Not Old Better show, so let's go there. Age inclusive programs that prioritize mobility, strength, balance, and enjoyment, I think is an impactful way to move forward in the exercise and fitness space. Um, Similar along those lines, I think if we have exercise professionals that are trained in the nuances of aging, including motivational strategies and how to help people who do have chronic conditions, and also how to create supportive group environments. I think that's impactful and important in the exercise space. And then I think the third thing is just having those community opportunities where you can have a walking club or an outdoor hiking club or low cost options in parks, libraries, or senior centers. Um, these are things that people can utilize regardless of their socioeconomics or where they live. If they can find community amongst people who are similar in age and similar in interests, I think it builds an opportunity for more physical activity.
And the only thing I would add is that, and this is one of the things that we're trying to do with our professionals, is to help the professionals have an opportunity to really work with and influence this population, particularly,
Mhm.
is to take the time to listen and understand the individual that you're working with and meet them where they are. And I would say, in kind of in behavior change science, they give the analogy of you want to take off your expert hat and really put on the hat of a trusted friend who's coming alongside the individual, because you shift the relationship from being one where you're constantly wrestling with the person to get them to do what you think is best for them, as opposed to dancing with them because you're working in collaboration.
So great to talk with both of you again. Happy holidays to you both. And what a wonderful amount of information. I know our audience is just going to be thrilled with this. And selfishly, Dr. Bryant, I would love to have you back to join Sabrena and I. This is just such a great ongoing topic. Of course, Dr. Sabrena Joe, Senior Director of Science and Education, and Dr. Cedric Bryant, the Chief Executive Officer at the American Council on Exercise, our guests today. Fantastic. We just talked about all of these really important topics that I think bear our responsibility, but also bear this notion of awareness. So thank you for sharing. My best to you and your families, and please join us again.
Thank you so much, Paul, for the opportunity. It's great.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, guys. Today's show is brought to you by Aura Frames. Aura Frames, the gift that brings your favorite holiday traditions and memories to life every day. Support the show. Please check out Aura Frames. That's going to do it for this edition of Live Long Better. My thanks to Dr. Cedric Bryant, CEO, and Dr. Sabrena Joe, the Senior Director of Science and Education from the American Council on Exercise, for reminding us that one of the most powerful exercises we have in our later years doesn't start with a dumbbell. It starts with a hello. We've been talking about something that does not show up on your fitness tracker: who you move with. The science is clear. Social connection doesn't just feel good. It changes your health, your brain, your mood, even your odds of staying independent. So let me leave you with a little 3-part challenge for this week. Pick one walk. Not 10, not a program, just one. 10 minutes with another human being, a neighbor, a friend, a partner, a grandchild. Speak. This is number 2. Number 1 was pick one walk. Number 2 is speak to one stranger. At your class, your senior center, your faith community. Notice the person who looks a little alone and start with, mind if I sit here? Number 3, ask yourself one honest question. Where am I lonely? And where could I invite one more person into my routine? These are all excellent questions. I want to challenge you to get answers to them. Come back to me with those answers. You don't have to become a social butterfly overnight, but you can become a little more socially fit. One walk, one greeting, one invitation at a time. Remember, we're not just talking about adding years to your life on this show. We're talking about adding people to your years. I'm Paul Vogelsang. This is the Live Long Better interview series with the American Council on Exercise. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of each other. Be well. Be safe. Let's talk about better. The Not Old Better show on radio and podcast. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.